Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Now, it's Everything is Golden
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Here is your host, James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
Today is truly a golden day. With me, my brother, former Congressman Louie Gohmert, America's Congressman. How are you, Louie?
I think I'm all right, James, as far as I know. And, of course, you may know better than I do, but always good to be with my brother from another mother.
Louie, the House of Representatives, as we record this podcast, is in shambles. Supposedly. I am not, by the way, upset. As far as I'm concerned, they can take their time. And by the time some people hear this, we may have a House Speaker or we may not. But the day that we are recording this, Jim Jordan failed again to garner enough votes. You were in the House of Representatives for a while. Can you explain to people the dynamics that are at work in the House?
Well,
some of them.
A lot of the people have tried, but I do have a pretty good institutional memory of things that have gone on and things that I've been told went on before I got there. And I got elected in November of 2004. Dennis Hastert was Speaker. Tom DeLay was Majority Leader. And Republicans had not gotten a lot of stuff done since, important things done since the initial 94 contract with America. And Newt Gingrich led that, and Newt had explained to some of us that, they were just sick and tired of having no real effect on legislation. They were doing as Speaker Sam Rayburn from Texas back about 70 years ago or more had said, to get along, go along. Yes, and that continued to be the mentality after that brief period where Republicans kept their promises. They passed all of the 10 items on the contract with America. It just became kind of just getting along and going along. And yes, there was the Clinton impeachment and other episodes, a shutdown. But by the time I got there in January of 2005, Tom DeLay was trying to drive a conservative agenda, but he was driven out and a rule change by Boehner's buddies that they pushed through ended up getting Tom indicted. 9 years it took to get finally a clean bill of health. But in the meantime, Boehner took over as Speaker early in 2006. And we just became the go along kind of guys. And it cost us the majority in November of 2010. And there were a group of us that met for months before the November election trying to come up with an alternative to Boehner because we knew he was going to be getting along by going along and encouraging everybody else to do so. But finally, in 2015, we needed 29 votes. We got 24, but that was the handwriting was on the wall that Boehner had enough people upset that he probably wasn't going to survive 2 years. And then people were familiar with Mark Meadows filing the motion to vacate the chair that Thomas Massey had provided. And that led to Boehner's resignation the end of September. We were trying to get an independent speaker then, but people said, no, it's going to be Kevin McCarthy. And then Kevin went on Hannity's show and said some things that were just, I totally disagreed with. But
what did he say? He said pretty much that it was, I'm paraphrasing, he basically said the move to get Hillary Clinton was about ratings. It wasn't about anything that she had done.
He said, look at the ratings, and in fact, look at the ratings, and that shows you how important this was.
Right.
And the Democrats are going, see there, McCarthy admitted it was all about ratings. No, it was about standing up and doing what was right. And so that nixed him being able to be speaker. So we were trying to get a speaker would not be the same old establishment, get along, go along. And that's what we were working on. And I was fully supportive of Dan Webster, the first Republican speaker since Reconstruction in Florida, a wise person. And we didn't have enough. We had too many that wanted another get along, go along guy. And so Boehner weighs in and says, look, I think Paul Ryan would be a great speaker. And the establishment folks within the House, Republican House, decided, that's where they wanted to go. And people coalesced around Paul. He said he was going to stand up for our stuff. He said a lot of right things that didn't happen. But anyway, he got elected. But again, this was a Boehner selection. And then Paul's out, and who ends up? Well, it ends up being McCarthy, who was an original selection back in 2010 when we won the majority back. Boehner tagged him to be the majority whip. So this was I like Kevin. He's an amazing guy. But it was another line in the Boehner selection, in the Boehner groomings. And so we come to this time, and I know a lot of people were upset, said the guys that did not vote for Kevin, terrorists, they were terrible, self-motivating, self-aggrandizing, but they weren't. I can tell you, it is no fun having Republicans call you names because you want to stand up for what you said you would do when you got elected. But
that is my issue with these Republicans who are going on record saying, oh, it's only 4% of Republicans. Well, no, those 4% that they call of Republicans that effected this change, led by Matt Gaetz and his call to vacate the chair, represent the majority of the Republican conservatives who come out and elect these people in primaries.
Yeah.
They are the base.
Yep.
And they are the base that has been routinely ignored by Republicans in the House of Representatives and the Senate, going back now almost 3 decades, with the exception of the Gingrich years.
Yes. Yep. And it's so true. And so you got to also understand, in the House, the person that gets elected speaker in the Republican conference, that private meeting, only Republicans voting, the person that traditionally has won that position since Gingrich has always been the person that one more than half thinks is going to win. Not because they're smarter, they're more able, they're more Machiavellian. None of those things come into play. It is who does the majority think is going to win? Because the majority will vote for the person they think is going to win. Why? Because they know the speaker really puts his finger on the scales and affects who gets to be a chairman of a committee, who gets the A committee, the most important committees, who gets tasked with important responsibilities that's going to get a lot of press. All of those have emanated from the speaker. And the last time that there was so much power, well, all power basically in the Speaker of the House, came to loggerheads in January of 1923. I think it was 18, but they voted against the Speaker of the House and refused over 8 ballots to vote for him until he was willing to give back some of the power to committees and to members. Once he did that, he won on the 9th ballot. Well, since 1923, that power has continued to be sucked back into the speaker's powers, and members, committees had to do what the speaker said if they were going to be elevated.
Get into your body's vitals with the Vitals app on Apple Watch.
I wanna get into my body and let my skin do the talking. I wanna feel like I'm myself again.
The Vitals app tracks key overnight metrics so you can spot changes in your health before you feel them. The Vitals app on Apple Watch. iPhone XS or later required. The Vitals app is for wellness purposes only and not for medical use.
I wanna get into my body.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samara Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samara Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samara. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samara Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
Now, I want to just go back to Civics 101. When we took history, when we took civics. And then, so you learn, well, your congressman, you vote for your congressman, or that's what they said then. Now it would be your Congress representative, including the women. You vote for them, they go to Washington, D.C., and there they legislate, and they write laws, and they come up with an idea, and the bill goes into the hopper. And then from the hopper, it goes here, and it goes. None of that stuff is what happens.
Well, actually, a lot of us did write legislation. But if you wanted, like in my case, I'd made Boehner mad so many times, standing up to him, calling him out for things that promises broken. And so there was no way I was going to get a bill with my name on it going through. And so what I learned to do was you prepare a bill and then you find somebody, a Republican on the committee of jurisdiction, and get them to be the first name on the bill. But you have to be willing to go, I don't care who gets the credit, this needs to be done. And there were times people would go, this really looks like a good bill. Why don't you file it? And go, why don't you want to file it? Wondering if there's some fault in it. Going, because I want it to pass. And there's no way Boehner or Paul Ryan is going to let that happen.
This is something I want to take up, though, Louie, because what you believe, if you're a conservative, is that these people that are running the show here, these Republicans, have the best interest of the country at heart. What it sounds like to me and to so many other people is this is nothing but petty high school all over again. You crossed me here, so I'm not going to do this for you. You do this for me, I owe you a favor, maybe I'll do this for you. The backstabbing, the pettiness, and some of that has been on display in this entire speakers contest that's going on right now. I don't hear anything about what's best for the country. What I hear is, oh, well, you didn't go with Scalia, and so we don't like you because you didn't go with I'm not with Scalia. With
Scalise.
With Scalise. You didn't go with Scalise, and therefore we're not going to vote for you. You did something here that we find objectionable. And this stuff is so petty to people outside of the system, but yet it seems to dominate life inside this House of Representatives.
Well, James, let me point out, I don't want people to get the wrong idea. The huge majority of the Republicans that I worked with, 18 years I was there, they ran for the right reasons. They're going to help strengthen America, keep us going, perpetuate our freedom. But then you get there, and they have an orientation for 2 or 3 days, like within 2 weeks of the election. And the thing that's drilled into your head is, number one, the best thing you can do is get reelected. And I had to ponder that the first time I heard that. And then I ultimately thought about Sam Houston. I mean, he believed with all his heart Texas should not secede from the Union in 1861. And when Texas voted to do that, he resigned, and he, reportedly had a very small group of family at his funeral. Sometimes you have to take a stand because you know in your heart it's right. And it's not about getting reelected. It's about doing the right thing. But you get that drilled into you. And the other thing that people hear more than I think anything else, certainly when I went through orientation, was the most critical thing besides getting reelected is being, and here are the 2 words, a team player. And, the only time I ever met the founder of Fox News, Roger Ailes, I said, Monica Crowley and Sean Hannity both told me I needed to thank you if I ever met you for being the first person in television thought it was okay to have a Southern accent on. And he said, well, I've seen you, you do a good job, but I really wish you guys worked together better. And I said, I do too. And then he got bothered that I wasn't getting his point. And he said, what I'm saying is I want you guys to all run the same play together. And I said the first thing that came to my head, I said, I do too, but when my quarterback calls a play to run to the wrong end zone, I'm not blocking for him, and I'm going to try to tackle him before he scores for the other team. And he just looked at me like, you are just hopeless. And he walked away. But that's the, people are saying, we want them to work together. We want everybody to be a team player. Well, I do too. But it is important to stand up for what's right. And so I was not bothered by 15 rounds of votes to get a speaker because Kevin had to make agreements and promises of things he would do. And we're not talking about, I'm not hearing anybody talk a lot about it right now in the speaker's race, but we are spending our way into oblivion. And I was in a meeting with a leader of a foreign nation that's one of our allies back well before COVID, and we were talking about, we're concerned with our level of spending in the U.S., and he asked, what is your debt to GDP ratio? And there were only, I think, 3 members of Congress talking with him, and we said, it's 100%. And he was shocked, and he said, I had no idea you were already there. Because what leaders know around the world is when your debt gets to 100% of your GDP, that's normally when your economy collapses.
Yep.
And now we're 120 to 130%. We have been for a couple of years. And this is dangerous territory. And we need a speaker that's going to help rein that in. And I know that my friend Newt Gingrich, for whom I have the utmost gratitude and respect, is saying this is terrible. But look.
Newt Gingrich beat the hell out of Matt Gaetz for this, which I just thought was just so hypocritical. Excuse me for laying it out there like that. Because here's the guy that was the rebel. Here's the guy that stopped the go along, get along thing that you started.
So good, so good, so good.
Great brands, great prices. Everyone's got a reason to rack.
You know they have Marc Jacobs?
Nike? Yes.
Just so many good brands. Vince, Birkenstock, and more brands you love are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Plus, buy it online and pick it up in-store the same day for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Oh, such a clutch pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom, too. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
The GOAT.
Save up to 50% with minimum purchase at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
I didn't think the pain from the shingles rash would affect simple, everyday tasks like bathing, getting dressed, or even walking around. I was wrong. Though not everyone at risk will develop it, 99% of people over the age of 50 already have the virus that causes shingles, and it could reactivate at any time. I developed it, and the blistering rash lasted for weeks. Don't learn the hard way, like I did. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today. Sponsored by GSK.
At the UPS Store, we want to make this summer the summer of shipping, Summer Shipalooza, so you can start crossing items off your must-ship list, like the vintage film camera your college kid needs for class, or the vase you told your mom you would send her ages ago. And with our pack and ship guarantee, your items arrive safe or we reimburse you. So stop by your local store today for everything you need to be unstoppable. Visit the upsstore.com/guarantee for full details. Available at participating locations. Most locations are independently owned. Product, services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable.
Okay, Louie, you said that you were talking about Newt Gingrich, and I just said, I think it's so hypocritical. Here was the guy that was the rebel, the ultimate rebel, that stopped this let's go along to get along stuff. Yet when Matt Gaetz calls out Kevin McCarthy for lying, which is what was really happening, he said he was going to return the Congress to regular order. He did not. He made promises. And he knew the promises he was making to the Republican caucus. He did not keep them. And yet when he gets called out for it, here's Newt Gingrich saying, bashing the guy that actually calls him out on it. I don't get it.
Well, and let me mention one of those promises. Back when we had $1 trillion in debt, we shot up to $1 trillion in debt when President Obama, his first year, a deficit of $1 trillion back in 2006 when we lost the majority. The deficit was like $200 billion, and we should have balanced that year, but we didn't. And Democrats took advantage of it. They said, we'll balance the budget. And then when President Obama comes in, his first year, it's $1 trillion deficit. And if you recall, one of the rating agencies downgraded our debt.
That's right.
And fortunately, it was only one, because if more had joined in, then it would have shot our interest rates up so high it would have collapsed the economy. Well, now we're $2 trillion, and it's so irresponsible, and it could not continue. But let me tell you, Newt's brilliance, he came to some of us some years back and said, look, you have got to stop just automatically raising the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling is a mechanism by which you can get spending under control and get us back to a balanced budget like they had, I think, in 96 or 7. And so he was saying, don't go for long-term debt ceiling raises. As Boehner had just come up with a brilliant strategy for those that get along, go along, and that was, instead of raising the debt ceiling a specific amount, say 2 or 3 trillion, why don't we use a date instead and say we agree to whatever the debt raises by until this date. And that is a disaster. Giving somebody a blank check until a certain date and then we'll do it again, that was a Boehner creation. Maybe, I don't know who he got it from, but that was such a cowardly way to handle the debt. And that is exactly what they agreed to back, I think, May. They agreed, okay, Biden administration, it's whatever the debt ceiling raises to until January of 25. And that so infuriated people that are concerned about our economy just exploding and being the end of this little republic.
Well, Louie, I'm going to just stop down right here. We are at the end of episode 1 with you, episode number 13, Everything is Golden. And we're going to pick up with part 2. And I want to continue to explore what's going on in the House, and then I want to broaden out the discussion to politics with you in general. And in the United States, maybe if we have time, deal with the presidential race and also what's going on overseas. So stay with us, folks, for part 2, Bo and Louie. And we will continue next episode.